Iuya Mahatab, welcome and satisfaction to Kamat, Reconstructing Ancient Egyptian Culture. I am Patrick McCoy, your host and narrator. In this episode of Hatap Nachar, Divine Offerings, Food and Drink, we will be delving into ancient Egyptian bread. In this introductory episode, you will learn about bread characteristics, the ingredients, sizes, the multitudes of bread loaves, texture, and composition. Leavening agents, the microorganisms that cause bread to rise and impart flavors. Baking, the tools and methods used by the ancient Egyptians to bake their bread. Finally, reconstruction of ancient Egyptian bread, the efforts of Egyptologists, amateurs, and culinary artists to reproduce ancient Egyptian bread. Further episodes in the bread series will provide recipes and instructions to reproduce ancient Egyptian bread in the modern kitchen, such as Old Kingdom offering loaf, New Kingdom flatbread, and a special offering loaf displayed in the tomb of Rechmirah, made with tiger nut flour. Please subscribe. Click the bell for notifications. If you enjoy this video, please like, comment, and share. Likewise, present any questions you may have. Currently, Kamat videos are unmonetized on YouTube until we have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 minutes of content watched. Please support Kamat and share this video on social media to meet our goals. You can also support Kamat by purchasing products from Satya Nacharu, Sense of the Gods, at senseofthegods.com. Bath, beauty, aromas of ancient Egypt. Please subscribe to the Ahatu Kamat link at ancientegyptcombat.com to learn about ancient Egyptian combat techniques. Duba'a Nachar Ma'ach. Praise the deity for you all.
Bread was a staple and primary food of the ancient Egyptians. Through offering lists and administrative documents, bread was eaten by people from all regions and classes. The highest quality bread was a frequent offering to the gods. To ancient Egyptians, bread was a symbol of life. The word hata, meaning peace, submission, offering to gods, was represented as a woven offering tray with a loaf of bread. As there was no monetary currency in the ancient Egyptian economy, grain to make bread and beer, as well as bread loaves, were the standard commodity as the comparative value of goods and services. Rations of grain, to make a number of loaves of bread and beer, were considered the standard allotment for people of specific classes and trades. In the tale of the eloquent peasant, Huan Inapu, a goods trader in the Wadi Natrun, is given a stipend by the pharaoh, appropriate for his status as a peasant. And he was given 10 loaves of bread and 2 jars of beer every day. The workman's village in the royal city of Ahatu and the tomb workers' village at Deir el-Medina provide an opportunity to see how the ancient Egyptians prepared their bread. Most houses, in general, in each village had the tools and implements for the processing of raw grain, as well as ovens to bake the bread loaves. For those houses that did not contain their own apparati, there were the necessary equipment installed outside for public use. There is also evidence the labor-intensive process of removing wheat from the chaff and milling into flour was a shared and social endeavor performed by pairs of families. Bread was baked by most ancient Egyptian families, usually by the women of the household. Single households of men, such as workers and laborers, were most likely compensated with whole loaves instead of grain. The elite, royalty, and temples had their own extensive bakeries to feed the gods, priests, and noble and royal families.
Chapash wak sacham. Wamat ibak. Wasarak san manchu ma wan ut. Jat nafar san itamu. Inaj har ma patar nafarak. Nachtu har ta'u nab. Ha arak ib. Aha Kamat, ancient Egyptian combat. The fighters of ancient Egypt were the greatest and feared of the ancient world. Their ways of battle were the most efficient and brutal. Reverence for their discipline so great, tribute came from across the ancient empire to keep the forces of the two lands appeased. Ahatu employs the latest archaeological research to construct the lessons for you to learn the secrets of the Ahatu, the fighters of ancient Egypt. Ahatu, ancient Egyptian combat. Find us online at ancientegyptcombat.com.
Hieroglyphs and tomb offerings display many different shapes and sizes of bread loaves that were made in ancient Egypt. There were 117 different words for types of bread. Shapes of loaves were oblong, triangular, conical, or flat. The sixth pylon at the Temple of Amun in Karnak, built by Thutmose III, is inscribed with a list of offerings that lists flatbread loaves in forms of deities, like the falcon-headed Horus, humans, bulls, fish, geese, obelisks, and bubalisk calves. Loaves were decorated with seeds, ventilation cuts, and bands of dough. Bread also varied in their consistency, with the lower classes eating bread with coarsely crushed grain. The elite and offerings to the gods were loaves made from very finely crushed and sifted white flour. Whole or cracked grains were also added to medium or fine flour to add texture to breads. Hundreds of preserved loaves of bread have been excavated from tombs from the pre-dynastic era onwards, sizes ranging from 20 centimeters or about 8 inches long, 17 centimeters or about 7 inches in width, and 10 centimeters or about 4 inches high at the largest. Known commonly as ta, bread loaves were made mostly of badat wheat, but barley bread, spelt loaves, and small amounts of ryegrass seed were also found in breads. However, neither spelt nor rye were grown by the ancient Egyptians. Grain was separated from the chaff, so little, if any, was found in the bread. Microscopic analysis of ancient bread indicates some bread loaves contained malted grain, which is made by partially sprouting the grain, which increases starches and sugar content. Since the dry climate of Egypt negates natural malting, ancient Egyptians must have malted grain purposefully to improve flavor and leavening. Non-grain bread was also made from figs, tiger nuts, coriander, nubka fruit, and lotus seed. Each ingredient was crushed into bread flour by placing grains on a flat stone and dragging another stone across. This technology, known today as a saddle quern, was used in crushing grain into flour until Ptolemaic times, when the rotary grinding stone was used. Grain was also crushed using large mortar and pestle. Analyses on teethware rose to theories that bread contained a significant amount of sand and grit. Some loaves of bread have contained some sand and grit, which is presumed to be accidental inclusions due to wind in desert regions. However, evidence suggests bread found in tombs were made hastily, as they were not consumed by the living, and thus little care was given to prevent sand contaminants in the bread. Many other loaves were found with little to no sand or grit. Archaeologist Dr. Adeline Bat of the Sorbonne University in Paris theorized using a layer of fine sandy clay in conical bread molds in her reconstruction of ancient Egyptian bread baking. Bread with finely crushed flour also contained pre-cooked whole or cracked grains, which indicate grains were mixed with flour to provide texture and flavor, similar to today's whole wheat or multigrain bread. Flour was then mixed with salt, water, or milk, and leaven. Dates, honey, and spices were also added to give a variety of flavor. Microscopic analysis of bread indicates a moist shajat, or bread dough, that was not extensively kneaded. Tomb depictions of bread making display bread dough being kneaded as required for any leavened bread. The low gluten content in ancient Egyptian bread does not require excessive kneading. Ancient Egyptian bread was denser than the modern spongy bread, but was leavened with yeast so the dough would rise and make it lighter. Leavening would also impart better flavors to the bread. The earliest known methods of leavening bread are inoculation of bread dough with yeasts through fermented grapes, dates, doom palm fruit, or figs, and were used to leaven bread and brew beer. A grape wine jar found in the tomb of Scorpion I during the pre-dynastic era had still living fungi of Saccharomyces cerevisiae, also known as baker's yeast, which is still used today for winemaking, beer brewing, and bread making. In nature, the organism is found on the skins of grapes, making grape wine an early fermented human drink. As early as the Old Kingdom, bread and beer makers were using the Saccharomyces cerevisiae for leavening and fermentation. In the tomb of Neonkhnum and Khnumhotep, a barley beer is inoculated with the fermenting date vine. By the New Kingdom, lactobacillus was introduced into baking and brewing. This lactic acid bacteria, found in sourdough, was used to make bread, beer, and cheese.
Close your eyes and inhale deeply. Scents that will take you back through the ages to the mysteries of ancient Egypt. This great civilization was world-renowned for products pleasing to the senses, caring for the body, and protective to the skin. Years of research and testing were committed to reconstruct the most effective and luxurious beauty and aromatherapy products from ancient Egypt. Satya Nacharu, Scents of the Gods. Bath, Beauty, Aromas of Ancient Egypt. Find our products online at senseofthegods.com.
Bread baking varied in Egypt throughout its history. In the Old Kingdom, bread molds were preheated, dough, or shajat, was placed in bread molds. The common bread mold is represented as the hieroglyph X2 in Gardner classification. The mold was baked on an open fire, or simple different types of open fire ovens are also seen in tomb depictions and models. The bread mold yielded a rounded bread loaf, hieroglyphically represented as X1, and the common name for the bread, ta. The Old Kingdom bread mold, named baja'a, were made from baked Nile silt, clay, and straw, and ranged from 13 to 23 centimeters, or 5 to 10 inches tall, and a diameter of 18 to 25 centimeters, or 7 to 10 inches. The baja'a had a weight of 3.3 to 6.5 kilograms, or 7 to about 15 pounds, due to the thickness of the mold of 1.2 to 2.8 centimeters, or about 1/2 to over an inch. The depth was therefore shallower, 7 to 14 centimeters, or 2.5 to 5.5 inches. Another bread mold throughout all pharaonic eras were platter-shaped of various sizes that were placed rim-side down over an open fire. In the Middle Kingdom, loaves were made by hand and were baked over an open fire, on coals, or on a heated clay slab over direct flame. By the New Kingdom, a new baking oven was used that consisted of a large ceramic cylinder heated by fire in the middle. The oven is preheated, and flatbread was baked on the walls of the cylinder. This type of cylindrical oven is still used today in North Africa and the Middle East, known as a tannour. Egyptians baked bread in wood fire ovens, creating the same kinds of breads their ancient ancestors made. Ancient Egyptian cuisine remains a popular topic to this day. Many professionals and amateurs have made fascinating results to reconstruct ancient Egyptian bread. Dr. Delwyn Samuel is a leading expert in ancient Egyptian bread by making microscopic analysis of ancient bread loaves and grains, and has experimented in grinding grain using ancient technology. Xbox creator Seamus Blackley joined with Egyptologist Dr. Serena Love and microbiologist Richard Bowman in collecting yeast from ancient Egyptian bread molds and baked a sourdough loaf. Ancient tombs provide the primary source of information for the reconstruction of ancient Egyptian bread. Drawings on tombs display the production of bread, and bread loaves left as offerings to the dead make it possible to make ancient Egyptian bread today. Brief texts accompanying bread-making scenes, as well as papyri, provide further insight into baking methods. Corroborating offering lists give names, composition, and usage of bread. With this evidence, the pioneering efforts of experimental archaeologists, and bread baking by modern Egyptians, it is possible to bake and enjoy ancient Egyptian bread using modern baking methods.